because of the wrong information. We're, as a parish, really pleased with the work. If you had come past Le Sueur's grave any time before really the new year, sometime last year, you would have been unable to read the inscription. It was illegible, almost illegible. And so we asked Mark Reynolds, the stonemason, to repoint the inscription, which he's done. There was no surround around the grave, although there were the holes showing that there was one when it was first done. And so Stephen Rylance, who does ironworks very well, has put this railing around it, which will last hopefully at least a couple of centuries. And the team, of course, have cleared up. They put new gravel down, and we even have temporary lighting installed because someone pointed out to me a couple of days ago that it would be dark when we had this ceremony. And health and safety being what it is, we had to make sure nobody tripped over. I don't think I need to go into any detail really about Pierre Le Sueur. I've asked Geraint to say a few words about Pierre Le Sueur, and after that the Dean is going to formally bless, if that's what you do with graves. He's going to say a prayer and so on. But I just want to thank Tony Andrews in particular, our Director of Parks, Open Spaces and Cemeteries and lots of other things, for his team's work on this site. We think as a parish it's important to look after our 3 cemeteries, and hopefully this won't be the first grave of this sort to be renovated. We've already noticed that the former Dean is languishing over there, needs a bit of paint on his railings, and his inscription's getting a bit faded as well, so maybe we'll do that one next. And Anna from the Société tells me that Perrault is over there somewhere in the darkness, who was the constable before Le Sueur. I was checking that, yeah. So we'll have to check he's in good condition. But I'm sure there are lots of other people in Green Street Cemetery who are laid to rest here, whose graves are worthy of attention. And I'm looking forward to getting those sorted out. A word about the timing. It's happened at 5:30 because the States were quite likely to be in session when we first organised this for the 15th of January, which of course was the wrong day, and that's why we ended up with the 5:30 start. But it seems to have worked quite well. Lovely, fine evening, or a clear evening anyway. And so I'm going to thank you for coming and ask Geraint to say, give us a little bit of history. Geraint.
Not going to take too long, just going to mention, of course, that Pierre Le Sueur merited not just one obelisk, but 2. Got a major monument which has been restored and put to its proper use in Broad Street, where he was born. He came from a humble background, no privileges, youngest son of a blacksmith. Left school, went to work in a lawyer's office at the headquarters of the Conservative Laurel Party. They fixed it for him to become an advocate at the time when there was no competition, there was no exam to pass, no bar exam. The advocates were simply appointed, and there were only 6 of them, couldn't add any more. So the Conservative Laurel Party put him in as an advocate, and he promptly became a raving progressive, championing the underdog, looking for loopholes in laws, and so he then moved up to take over the constableship of St Helier, and it's really due to him that St Helier changed from being an insanitary huddle of buildings on the edge of the shore by the harbour to being something one can recognise as more of a modern town. He saw the need to battle with outraged ratepayers by stopping them from exploiting the poor in the slums. He took particular care to ensure that there were sanitary conditions to deal, because there was no sewerage, very little clean water. Even the decent houses were simply throwing all their human waste out into open sewers running through the streets. That was contaminating all the water, leading to cholera outbreaks, which he also had to dealt with. He was by no means a bleeding heart liberal. When the Red Riots broke out in 1847, he took measures to put down the riots, a heavy police presence, law and order. It's always good with the voters, I suppose. He faced down the voters personally by appealing to them to stand down and go home, but he also put in place measures, a charitable fund to alleviate the distress caused by the increase in bread prices. Responsible for founding a fire brigade at a time when many houses were still thatched in the centre of town, looked for widening streets and really laying the foundations. On top of all that, he did a lot of law reform as a member of the States. As it says here, he was entrusted with the Treasury and also sent to the Privy Council to argue Jersey's case on a number of occasions. Heaven knows what he would have done if he'd lived to a ripe old age, because he managed all that before dropping dead practically of what was ascribed to overwork at a very young age. So it's no wonder that practically the whole town went into mourning, turned out for the funeral on the 21st of January, and this monument was put up, and later the obelisk in the street where he was born. It was intended that that would be a fountain to remind everyone of his efforts to provide water, drinkable water, safe water and sewerage, but unfortunately the public subscription didn't go as far as actually linking it up to the water supply. So for much of its existence, the obelisk in Broad Street was a rather dry fountain. If Pierre Le Sueur had actually lived to see his monument, I'm sure we'd have fixed that. But at least we've managed to fix this and his obelisk in Broad Street to remember some of the history and why St Helier laid the foundations of being such a great town that it is today.
I thought I would just read a couple of verses which I hope you'll find appropriate for his memory. To one the king gave 5 talents of money, to another 2, and to another 1, each according to his ability. Then he went on his journey. The man who'd received 5 went at once, put his money to work, and gained 5 more. So also the one with the 2 talents gained 2 more, but the man who'd received the 1 went off, dug a hole, and hid his master's money. It just seemed to me that if you think about this guy, whatever talents he started with, he made a whole load more. And it's great to have this restored memorial here. I think he would have approved. I think he would approve even more if modern day St Helierites who follow in his stead have as much idea of social conscience and the well-being of the most disadvantaged. I think that would be an even more fitting memorial than this. So I hope that this is the start, if you like, of remembering him, and that actually, as well as the lovely painting in the town hall and this monument and the obelisk by the post office, it may help us to have a resurgence of even greater things in terms of our honorary tradition and our service one of another, which I think this island is extremely good at. Let's pray together.